Hey, what's up, guys? Standing here at our little bookshelf in our house, which has some of my Bibles on there. And one of my favorite Bibles that have been given to me is this one right here. It's an NASB Bible. It's got my name on it. Bill Witten gave this to me a couple months back. And he had given me a Bible, another one just like this right before it. And I remember sitting in my office with Bill one day, flipping through it to the New Testament, and to find out that there was no book of James in there. Like the book of James was missing. I think Revelation was missing as well. And Bill and I were like, what? How do you make a Bible without James? And so it was just a misprint, and he eventually got me one that had James in it. But my point of just sharing that real quick is that we need the book of James. We don't need to have a Bible without James. We need James because it's practical. It reminds us of our need for the Lord. And I really hope you've seen that in our study so far. So today we're in day 7, chapter 4, verses 1 through 12. And James, one of the reasons we need this book is that he brings up a lot of good questions. For example, today, the first verse, he says, what causes conflict or what causes quarrels among you? And did you see the answer? He gave the answer right away. James says that what causes conflict with you and another person is your own desire, or your own passions are at war within you. Which is such a convicting verse, maybe the most convicting verse for me personally so far in our study of James, because it's a reminder for me that when I'm in conflict with another person, or if there's conflict going on, that the focus is not, man, they're the problem. Like, this is what they did, but to really deal with the sin in my own heart. So James is challenging here. And as I read these verses, it also reminded me of a quote from Paul David Tripp, who basically said this, that people, locations, or situations are not what causes me to sin, but they're where the sin of my heart gets revealed. So James here, kind of some hard news today, but James chapter 4 exposes, in one word here, here's what I think it's doing. I think it's exposing our pride, which is hard, right? But yet there's good news in James, is that James chapter 4, and then starting on verse 6, and then a few verses down, it says that God opposes the proud, so that's not good. But good news is that he gives grace. He gives grace to those who humble themselves. And so James 4 is asking something of us today as believers, is that we would come to him and that we would humble ourselves. That if you are in conflict with somebody, whether you're watching this tonight or you're watching this later on, is to not think that person is the problem, but to take responsibility and to really humble yourself. James chapter 5 will say to confess your sins to one another. Obviously, we need to confess it to the Lord first. But let's humble ourselves today in a few ways, by expressing dependence upon the Lord today, even at this moment as you watch this video. You can express gratitude. That's a way to humble ourselves. And then finally, to cast our cares upon him. So James gives us good news today, that yeah, he does oppose the proud, and James is asking a lot of us. There's a lot of commands in here, but there's good news, is God gives more grace. So love you guys. See you tomorrow.